Hello everyone and welcome back. We have two main goals for this video. Our first goal is to associate our users and our comments. This is very similar to associating our users and our comics that we did in the last video. The second one is going to be also very similar. We're going to prevent users from creating new comments unless they are authenticated. Now I would like to issue this as a challenge to you. Because we just did the same thing with comics in the previous video, I'd like you to add the association between comments and users and then prevent them from creating new comments unless they are authenticated. I highly suggest you refer back to the item association in the last video and use that as a reference. I wish you good luck. Pause the video and then unpause it once you are done. Alright, I hope you did well. So let's go ahead and do that together. So first off, we need to update our comments model. And I'm going to pull up comic.js, the model there, just as a reference. Now, if you remember, we had this owner with the ID and the username. We can do the same thing with the comment, except we've already got a user item right here. So instead of recreating the wheel right there, let's just get this part and put it there. So now we have a user. Our user is a lot more complex than it was. Now our user, instead of just being a straight string, is an ID and a username, which is that string. So we've added this ID section to it, referencing user. And that's really all we have to do with this model to update it and make it work like it's supposed to. So next we need to go into our routes, our comments routes, and update the create comment so that the user is no longer request.body.user. It's going to be more complex than that. So let's go ahead and get rid of those and open up our comics. And again, we're just using this as a reference. So inside of comics, our owner is an object with an ID and a username. And if we look at our comment, it's going to be the same. We're going to have an ID and a username. So we can just copy this and put it over here instead of request.body.user. Let's fix our indentation right there. So now we have the user being created with an ID and a username, both of which are coming from request.user. And remember, request.user is being passed to us by Passport and Express session. So let's save that and let's try to create a new comment. First, it looks like I'm going to have to add a comic. Let's refresh. Looks like I made a typo somewhere. Oh, I'm not running the server. That would help. Refresh. Let's log in. Test, and then add a comic. Now we have this new comic. Let's try and add a comment and let's see what happens. Right now we have a username, so let's just put some random gibberish in there. Comment text is going to be here's my comment. Now what I want to happen is that this does nothing. This should have no application on anything. It should just disappear into the void. And then this should be the comment text where the actual username is test. So submit. There we go. It's working kind of as we expected. Here's my comment, but you'll notice here, this is obviously not what we want to be displayed for our users. It has their ID and their username. So we just have to update our view a little bit, our EJS. So inside of our view, where is it? Views. And this is the show, comics_show right there. Let's look down to the comment part. Let's see, comment.user. We don't want comment.user anymore because now that user is an object. We want comment.user.username. And again, I know this because I can look at the comment model and say, okay, comment.user is an object right here, and I want the username from that object. So let's save that, refresh this page, and there we go. That's exactly what we want. And this right here, again, is why we want to make sure to include the username in the comment itself. Because if we don't, for every single comment on that page, we're going to have to make a different call to the database to determine the username based off of the ID. So it makes it a lot more efficient to do it that way. So we're done with that part. The next thing we need to do is add that same middleware to stop us, the isLoggedIn middleware, to stop us from creating comments unless we are logged in. So I'm just going to do the exact same thing and just copy this over to comments down at the bottom. And get the name and we want this on deleting comments. You're not allowed to delete a comment unless you are logged in. We want this on updating comments. We want this on editing comments, and we want this on creating comments, and we want this on the new comment field. So basically all of these routes. So let's save. And now we can go back. Let's click on here and see if we can add a comment. Nope, because we're not logged in. Let's create a new user. Let's go ahead and sign up. test2@google.com, whatever. Call this person Scooby. Password will be do. So I'm now signed up as Scooby-Doo. Let's come in here, add a comment. Username doesn't matter. Comment text will be ruh-roh raggy. Submit. I was going to require it. So submit. Now I have both of those comments, have test and Scooby. So you'll see here that in the add comment field, I need to get rid of this username, so I can go ahead and update that. So for the comments.new, we can get rid of that username entirely. Boom. Delete, please. There we go. Let's save and refresh this page. Now, all we have is the comment text. A Ruby rack. And now we have that working. And as of right now, because I'm authenticated, I can delete comments. So I can delete that right there, and it will go away. The problem is I'm authenticated as Scooby. I can delete test's comment. That is obviously not what we want, and we'll be adding that later once we get to authorization. Because right now we're just worried about authentication. In the next couple of videos, we're going to refactor our middleware to make it dry, and then we're going to get into authorization. In this video, however, we added data association between our comments and our users. So our, let's see, comments, nope, these are routes. So our comment model now has an updated user section that includes an ID and a username. We also updated our comments create route so that it no longer asks the user for the username, it just pulls it from the currently logged in session. And then we updated our comments new form so that it no longer asks for the username, it just pulls it from their logged in session. And then finally, the last thing we did is we updated our comics show page so that it shows the comment.user.username because we updated the model so our data looks different. So now it shows just the username. Well, if we just left it as user, it would show an object of their ID and their username. As always, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help. Thanks.